Somewhere right now, you are getting older. Not in a dramatic way. Just quietly, cell by cell, the way it happens to everyone. And you've never questioned it. Why would you? Aging is the one appointment nobody misses. But stop for a second and ask a strange question. Why do we age at all? We treat it like gravity, a law of nature, fixed, non-negotiable. Everything that lives grows old and dies. That's just the deal. Except, it isn't. Not for everything. There are animals alive today that do not age. Not age slowly. Do not age. And there's a scientist who thinks the reason you and I break down over time isn't a law of physics at all. He thinks it's something much stranger. He thinks your body is slowly forgetting who it is. His name is Michael Levin. And his work quietly asks a question we usually leave to religion and science fiction. Could a human being live forever? Tonight, let's take that question seriously and follow the science further than you might expect. To understand Levin's idea, forget genes for a moment. Forget DNA. Start with something simpler and much weirder. Every part of your body was, at one point, built from a single cell. That cell divided and its descendants somehow knew what to become: an eye here, a heart there, 5 fingers, not 6. Trillions of cells, each one following a plan none of them can see. Here's the question that haunts Levin: where is that plan? Where is the picture of the finished body stored? His answer is that the body runs on more than chemistry. It runs on electricity. Not the electricity of nerves and thoughts, a slower, quieter kind humming through every tissue you have. Levin calls it the body's bioelectric code. And he argues this electrical pattern is like a blueprint, a memory the cells share of what the body is supposed to look like. When you're young, that memory is sharp. Cut yourself and your cells know exactly how to rebuild. But as you age, Levin suggests, the signal degrades. The collective memory blurs. The cells slowly lose track of the plan. In his words, aging may not be damage in the ordinary sense, it may be a loss of information. Your body forgetting its own design. And if that's true, it changes everything. Because information that's been lost can sometimes be restored. This is the part where it stops being a theory and starts being something you can watch happen on a lab bench. Levin's team works with a small flatworm called a planarian. It has an almost magical property: cut it in half and the head half grows a new tail while the tail half grows a new head. Every piece remembers the whole. Chop one into dozens of fragments and you get dozens of complete worms. Now here's where it gets strange. Levin's lab didn't cut the worm and let it heal. They changed its electrical pattern first, rewrote the blueprint, without touching a single gene. And the worm regrew with 2 heads, one at each end. Sit with that. They didn't edit its DNA. The genes were untouched, identical to a normal worm. They simply changed the electrical memory of what body to build, and the cells obediently built a different one. And then the most unsettling part. When they cut that 2-headed worm again into plain pieces in plain water, it regenerated as 2-headed all over again. The new, altered blueprint had become the worm's permanent memory of itself. They had edited the pattern, not the code. And the pattern held. If the body's shape is a memory that can be rewritten, then the boundary between how you are and how you could be starts to dissolve. From there, the work climbs toward us. Frogs normally can't regrow a lost leg. But by triggering the right early signals, Levin's team has coaxed frogs into regrowing working leg-like limbs, telling the cells in effect, remember how to build this. The instructions were never gone. They just needed to be switched back on. Then his group did something that doesn't have an easy name. They took ordinary skin cells from a frog embryo, freed them from the body, and those cells spontaneously reorganized into a tiny new living thing. One that swims, moves, even heals itself when damaged. Not a frog. Not a robot. Something genuinely new. The team called them xenobots. Cells, it turns out, don't just follow orders. Given freedom, they explore. They have a kind of collective intelligence, a drive to build and to keep going. And this is the thread that leads straight to aging. If cells can be reminded how to build a limb, how to build a body, how to hold a shape, could they be reminded how to stay young? Levin has been working with the aging researcher David Sinclair on exactly this question. Their simulations model aging not as inevitable wear but as a goal-seeking system that finishes its job building the adult body and then, having no new goal, slowly loses its grip. And they ask, what if you could give the body a new goal? A standing order to keep rebuilding indefinitely. We are not there. Let me be clear about that. This is early science, mostly in worms, frogs, and computer models. No one is regrowing human organs on demand, and no one is reversing human aging. But the direction it points is breathtaking. And here's what tells you this isn't just wishful thinking. Nature has already done it. More than once. Meet the hydra. A tiny freshwater creature, a few millimeters long. Its body is built almost entirely from stem cells that renew themselves endlessly. It is constantly rebuilding itself from scratch. And the result is astonishing. As far as biologists can measure, the hydra does not age. Kept safe from predators and disease, it shows no rise in death rate over time at any age. One study estimated that under lab conditions, a population of hydra could take over 1,000 years to lose even most of its members, not to aging but to sheer bad luck. Then there's the creature, nicknamed the immortal jellyfish. When it's starving, injured, or dying, it does something that sounds impossible. It reverts. Its adult cells transform back into an earlier stage of life, and it becomes young again, then grows up all over again. A living thing running its own life cycle backwards, escaping death by refusing to stay old. These animals are not magic. They are proof of principle. They tell us in the plainest possible way that aging is not a universal law. It is one strategy among several. Evolution built creatures that grow old and die, and it also built creatures that don't. Which raises the obvious, thrilling, dangerous question: is there anything in principle that says we have to be in the first group? So let's say the science gets there. Not tomorrow, not this century maybe, but someday. The bioelectric code is cracked. Aging becomes a thing you treat, like an infection. The body never forgets its design. You could, in principle, live indefinitely. Here's where Michael Levin says something you don't expect from a scientist chasing this dream. He isn't sure we'd want it. Or rather, he isn't sure we'd survive it as ourselves. He puts it with a strange little thought experiment. Imagine heaven. A perfect place. No damage, no disease, no danger, nothing to fear forever. Your body works flawlessly for 1 billion years. Sounds wonderful. But Levin asks, could a human mind actually stay whole in there? You'd keep busy for the first 10,000 years, sure. But after 1 million? 1 billion? What happens to a mind with infinite time and nothing left that it needs? His research suggests something deep. A living system stays coherent, stays itself, partly because it has a goal it's reaching toward. Growth. Repair. A problem to solve. Take away every goal, remove every limit, and the thing that held you together might slowly come apart, not your body but the self inside it. In his framework, we are held together by the reaching, not the arriving. Which turns the whole question inside out. Maybe the hard problem was never how to live forever. Maybe the hard problem is what a person is even for, once forever is on the table. So come back to yourself, sitting here quietly aging the way every human before you has. Michael Levin's work tells us something genuinely radical, that aging may not be a locked door but a lost memory, and memories can, in principle, be found again. The two-headed worm, the regrown limb, the little creatures that live forever in a pond, they are all whispering the same impossible sentence. It doesn't have to be this way. But the same work leaves us standing in front of a question the biology can't answer. If we could stop the clock, if the body would never forget itself, never wear down, never end, would we still be us? Or is the ending part of what makes a life a life? Is it the limit that gives the whole thing its shape? I don't have that answer. I'm not sure anyone does. The scientist chasing immortality is also the one gently warning us that we don't yet understand what we'd be asking for. So I'll leave it with you tonight, in your one temporary, irreplaceable life. If you could live forever, really forever, would you want to? And if the reaching is what holds us together, what would you choose to reach for if you had all the time in the universe? Tell me in the comments. I read them, and on a question like this, there are no wrong answers, only honest ones. And if you like ideas that sit at the edge of science and wonder, and you want to keep asking the big questions with me, subscribe. There's a lot more to come.